Ivor from Florida. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello, Bobby. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Easy question for you, but I don't know the answer to this one. Why aren't car tires made larger so that cars move further with each rotation of the wheel, hopefully using the same amount of fuel?
That is a great question. It is, gosh, your thoughts are, and folks, let me put this into a radio picture for you. Take an orange and put a black marker on it and rotate it one time, put it on the floor and rotate it one rotation, and you'll see it travels about 3, 4, 5 inches. Take a bowling ball and do the same, and you see it travels 4 times, 5 times, 10 times as far. So why don't we use larger bowling ball tires on cars, which is the question that you pose? We do. All of that is figured into the size of the tire, is figured into the gear ratio and the differential. And that gear ratio and the differential, when it turns over, let's say, for instance, my Viper has a 3.07 to 1 gear rear final drive. And what that means is the drive shaft has to turn 3.07 times. Let's just say it's 3 times. 3 times to get the wheels to turn once. Therefore, in fourth gear, which is the final drive, at 60 miles per hour, so many engine turns, the wheels turn one time, and that's where you get your speed. So how can I put bigger wheels and make my car travel a farther distance with the same engine RPMs? I shift into fifth gear. Now, fifth gear is an overdrive that's 0.75. So it's 0.75. Now, how can I put even larger tires to do what you want to do? I go into sixth gear. And listen to this. Sixth gear is a 0.5 reduction. That means that my engine, my drive shaft now, has to turn half of what the drive shaft turns to get the same speed. So that takes the overall gear ratio that's a 3 to 1 and makes it 1.5 to 1. Theoretically, at top end, the Viper will run 300 miles per hour at 6,000 RPM. Now, it won't do that because of the friction of air. In fact, the car, it has such a tall gear, that's what that's called, Ivor. It has such a tall gear that the engine loses its power and cannot poke a hole in the air, and the car will only run 155 miles per hour in 6 speed because the engine is under such a load because of the gear ratio. Just like a bicycle, if you drove a bicycle that had 20 gears and you went from first, second, third, and to 20th, your legs would say, hey, wait a minute, let me work my way up the ladder a little better. And if you came to a hill, there's no way you leave it in a taller gear. Now, the Viper will run 155 in 6th gear, but if you put it back into 5th gear, which gives the engine some torque back, it'll run 192. And those are factory facts. Not that I've ever run that fast in my car, but the bottom line, all cars are figured and configured with the specific overall diameter of the tire. And so if you put a bigger wheel on the car, like you went from 17s to 20s on a car, what you'll have to do is to maintain the same overall height of the tire, so you'll have to put a skinnier or shorter tire. And that's where the ratio of overall side width and to the width of the tire. And that's aspect ratio. So that's what that's all about. And one more thing before we go. We really need to have someone from a tire company on here to answer questions about this, but I can share this with you. The bigger the wheel, the shorter the tire, the quicker the response to driving. So if you want to drive a car that with aggressive tires and steers like a Formula One car where you just move the wheel in a little bit and the car takes off in that direction, I mean, it's very responsive, then that you're going in the right direction. But I will tell you, you also end up driving a car that where a car sees a dip on the road, the tires are so aggressive that 1 minute you're headed off 3 feet in the right direction, and the next minute you're headed off in 2 feet in the left direction because whichever tire gets the best bite on the road pulled you in that direction. And my Viper is like that. It's like riding a bull. You never quite know. You never have quite command of the vehicle because of the aggressiveness of the tires. And you compare that to the little smart car, which has 15-inch wheels and softer, taller tires, then it has no propensity to steer you in any direction at all. And a lot of that's called slip angle. A lot of it's more technical than we could ever have time to hope for. But from a mileage standpoint, you should keep the same tires that were manufactured and made tire-wise. You can go a grade up, and there's a step up, and there's a name for that in the tire world. But you still have to retain within, I think it's a half an inch of overall height in the tire in order to stay with the ABS brakes and the as you can see, it's very technical. So your question, the answer is bigger than a bread box, and I've just touched on just the tip of the iceberg. But thank you for your call. A great thinking there. Stick with the size tires that come from the factory unless you're ready to reprogram the speedometer and change the load rating of the engine and the gear ratios and the differential and on and on and on.